Another bummer. Another bummer today. We're not talking about economics today. We're talking about the kidnapping of a PhD student at Tufts in Boston. Now, I'm in New England, so hits a little bit closer to home, literally. It's fucked up. It's just kidnapping. It's ICE kidnapping people who disagree politically with the establishment narrative. And that may sound more, aggressively leftist populist than I normally sound, but they're just straight up kidnapping people. They had a valid F1 visa. They wrote an op ed, which is their legal right to do as someone who has residency in the United States. And then they're arresting and detaining them in Louisiana, I think, right now. Let's pull up. I searched up their name. Ozturk, I believe it's Rumeysa Ozturk. I'm going to just say Rumeysa. They're, according to the ICE website, they're currently in South Louisiana's ICE processing center. That it's without any, again, there's no trial, there's no anything. And again, this isn't an illegal immigrant. That's the other thing you have to remember. These aren't the illegals that we were being told about, that they're said like the murderous psychopaths from insane asylums that Trump claims exist and are everywhere. Like, and I have to also say, before we even get into this, there are criminals from every population source. There are less criminals that are immigrants, documented or undocumented, especially because a large percentage of our immigrants here are people who are seeking asylum, and they overstayed and they either missed a court appearance, intentionally did not attend a court appearance, or they're in the process of filing their legal application become to get some sort of status or some residence in the United States, and they're just kicking them all out because the goal here is people who are not Trump and conservatives' perception of what they want a resident to look like. No more melting pots. Like, you either look like us, you think like us, or you're gone. That's the other thing. Like, American citizens need to start getting louder instantly, right? Like, the people who need to be the most vocal constantly need to be American citizens, because they're just straight up getting rid of immigrants. And I was at the Brown campus protest where they were all wearing masks for the exact reason. And again, they were saying, "Hey, you're not allowed to wear a mask. Don't wear a mask." I'm like, there's no legal restriction for wearing masks, especially during the during the COVID era, during the protest of the war on Gaza. They're calling it military actions. Like, no, maybe it's not a war on the sense of there's no ability to fight back. The fact that the casualties on the Israeli side are still under 1,200, and we're upwards of 61,000 on the Palestinian Gaza side, and people just keep saying Hamas. Just saying you're supporting Hamas. Someone in these comments, if this video gets enough views, someone in these comments will call me a Hamas supporter, because I don't want a bunch of children and innocent people and people who are my age but happen to work in the government of their country, which makes them inherently a terrorist. That's the other thing, is you're creating terrorists by doing this. This is the most radicalizing thing you can do to a population, is just straight eradicate them for and it attacks that their government that they didn't even necessarily get the right to vote for. Like, if you were a Palestinian child, you probably think the Hamas are heroes now, because like they're fighting against an evil force that did something to us when, even if you could have acknowledged that it was wrong to do the October 7th attacks, you don't care about that anymore. Anyway, I'm going on a rant. Let's just talk about the article today. They just straight up kidnapped this Turkish student from Tufts University. Latest Palestinian supporter swept up in U.S. crackdown. We're going to watch part of the video. I'm going to skip ahead. It's a minute and 50 seconds. Let's go ahead. Look, regular clothes, plain clothes detectives just walking up on her. They start grabbing her immediately. She's screaming. It's disgusting. I think there's like 6 cops. At least they're calling themselves cops. Legally, I don't know if they're... That's the other thing. Like, she asked if she could call the cops, because she's trying, like, she screamed, and then she's like, okay, let me handle this reasonably. She was like, can I just call the cops? And they said, we're the police, right? Like, here's the thing: if she was able and allowed to call the cops, I don't think she would have got this. Wouldn't have happened. Because there would have been some sort of actual due process. It's the thing, like, it's not even like it's not like an illegal immigrant that's like illegally got their way over there. I'm pretty sure Rubio said he's reverted statuses, but we can get a little bit more of this. The rest of this is them saying that they're the police, calm down, be quiet. Someone on the outside asks, why are you guys wearing masks? If you guys are the police, how am I supposed to know that you guys? I mean, the guy doesn't do anything because there's like 7 of them, and he doesn't want to get arrested himself. I don't know. If I were to see this happening by myself, I'd be concerned. If I could get a big enough group, I would recommend all. If you are a foreign, if you're a foreign national in any capacity, you've mentioned anything condemning Trump in any capacity or condemning Israel. Talk to whoever you work with, your school. I mean, I don't even know what you should do. Should you not go to school, not go to work? Can you go back home? Will you be detained at the airport? It's hard to say. Like, this is happening in Boston. Like, we're supposed to be a liberal stronghold. We're supposed to be, if any place was going to resist this, I'd think it'd be us. Like, I don't even know what you do. And look, we don't have any power. We can't fight back. We just are. The thing I'm saying is, like, what's stopping him from deporting just people who are like American citizens doing the same thing? Natural born American citizens, like, could I get detained for the same thing? I'm not going to shut up about it. I'm going to have to get detained before I think it's a bad idea, or I'm going to have to see multiple people, and I'm going to see what the reactions to American citizens getting detained and deported, same thing. But, like, we have to get loud now, because if it's just the case that they could just get rid of anybody, then we don't live in a country anymore. We don't live in a democracy anymore. We live in a Trump dictatorship, which seems to be getting close. Let's read now. Boston AP, a Turkish student detained by federal officers as she walked along a street in Boston suburb, in the latest supporter of a Palestinian causes to be swept up in the Trump administration crackdown on immigrants who express their political views. Rumeysa Ozturk, 30, a doctoral student at Tufts University, was swiftly moved out of Massachusetts, another case of U.S. immigration and customs engagement, ICE sending immigrants taken into custody to detention centers or deporting them altogether before a federal judge has a chance to weigh in and possibly halt their actions, which they would have if they were given a chance, because this is illegal. It's unconstitutional and illegal. All this is illegal. It's not like, oh, it's gray area. It's objectively just illegal, which is why they're trying to do it quickly and send people away so it's too late. Like, they try and use their jurisdiction to gather people and get them out of the jurisdiction so they can't bring them back. Ozturk, who was detained Tuesday shortly after she left her home in Somerville, had been moved to an ICE detention center in Louisiana. By the time her lawyer went to the court and judge and ordered her to be kept in Massachusetts, the U.S. government lawyers, in a court document Thursday, they said that they made the lawyers aware that she was being moved to a facilitated contact with her Wednesday night. She was being moved to facilitated contact. A senior Department of Homeland Security spokesperson said federal authorities detained Ozturk after an investigation found that she had engaged in activities in support of Hamas, a foreign terrorist organization that relishes the killing of Americans. They relish the killing of Israelis, to be fair. That's the Hamas. But Hamas also includes the rest of the government that isn't explicitly a goal of causing terrorist action. It includes all the hospitals, all the schools, all the, like, if you work at all in any government, like, if you worked at the equivalent of the DMV, I'm not sure if they even have but what would be the equivalent of a DMV in Gaza, you would be considered Hamas, and ergo considered a terrorist. Like, you just work a job for the government. So you have to also know, like, what's included. Like, simplifying it down to the extremist violent military force removes the entire rest of the population that is not a military agent. Even if there is someone who holds violent views towards Israeli and American people, if you poll the current Israeli populace about what they think is and isn't acceptable for treatment of Palestinians, it would functionally be they're okay with terrorism, just the death of all their children. They don't care. They do not care. Let's fact check that, right? Israeli sentiment on war. Pure research. Let's look. Now, here's another interesting part of this, like this detail. Israelis divided over the country's military response of Hamas in Gaza. Divided isn't the right way to look at it. 19% say it's bad, 7% don't know. When it says that on Israelis' response against Hamas in Gaza, been about right, not gone far enough. Now, one thing you could say, being the best faith interpretation, is if you're in Israel, you probably believe that no extreme actions have been done, right? But then the question is, if you think everything's been done fairly, thinking they haven't gone far enough probably means you do support. You either know what they're doing and want even more harm, or you don't know what they're doing and want them to do the thing that they actually are doing. Pew Research Center finds that 39% of Israelis say that military response against Hamas Gaza has been about right. 34% is not gone far enough. 90% think it's gone too far. And even the ones that think it's gone too far, they don't think it's too far the way that like a leftist would think, right? 61% say they are extremely concerned about the war expanding into other countries. 68% say they're extremely concerned about the war going on for a long time. Let's see how, when it comes to what should happen with the war, there is less consensus. About 40% plurality thinks Israelis should govern Gaza. 40% thinks it should just be under their control. That's too high. Smaller shares thinks Gazans should decide who governs. 14%, or would like to see the Palestinian Authority unity government with either 6% or 12%. President Mohammed Abbas, also known as Abu Mazen, in leadership. So basically, less than 20% think that Palestinians, in any capacity, should have control over their own destiny or future. And of course, if you're listening to news by conservative or established Democrat, or especially Israeli news, you think that necessarily inherently leads to terrorist attacks on your nation. So why wouldn't you think that, right? Separately, 26% of Israelis think a way can be found for Israel and independent Palestinians to coexist peacefully with each other, down from 35% who say the same thing last year. So we're bleeding off people who think they can live in their own. This is Pew Research, by the way, Pew Research Center. I hope that people. I do check the biases. There's a slight left-leaning bias on the AP. I usually use Reuters. I mention this every time I do a video in case there's a new person. I think it's either center or slightly center right. I might be wrong on Reuters. And Pew Research Center, if never checked, I'd hope that it won't be considered biased. Pew Research Center, political leanings. Let's see. Pew Research Center, bias rating. There we go. Let's see. It could have my guess is a left-leaning bias because things that are science, it's center, so it should. I would agree. I don't know how much that's worth. I didn't have to sign into anything, so you could bot that realistically. But like, okay, just I always looked at ISO. This should be as fairly objective. Just saying, positions are. Of course, my take before this is much more. So let's see. But this is just like, Israelis are largely not concerned with what's happening to Palestinians. Which, why would they be? Look at what their news is saying. Their news is generally in support of their own actions, right? The same way that generally our government in the United States has been in support of Israel's actions. And you don't get the resistance because it's your livelihood you think's at stake. But anyway, back to where we were at. We can talk about Hamas and Israel in another video. I used to do that a lot last year. Didn't get that many views. Didn't get that much attention because pretty much anyone who clicked on it agrees with me. And it's like, yeah. And anyone who disagreed, I'm like, I'm not going to watch this loser with no views. But here we are. Is there anything else here in this video? Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the Trump administration has revoked at least 300 people's visas, saying we do it every day. We gave you a visa to come and study and get a degree, not become a social activist. Tear up university campuses, Rubio told reporters on top of Guyana. Friends and colleagues of Ozturk said that she was not closely involved in pro-Palestinian protests that broke out on campuses last spring. Again, she was at Columbia earlier on, and she's at Tufts now. Her only activism, they said, was co-authoring an op-ed in student newspapers called on Tufts University to engage with student demands to cut ties with Israel. So she wrote an op-ed that was complaining about how Tufts interacted with an organization on the student campus that wanted Tufts to divest, right? All she did was basically write an article complaining about how Tuft handled it. That is enough to get her deported, kicked out of the United States. Only thing, right? And again, like if we're a country that cares about free speech, it's bad. Like if you don't think free speech is bad, if you think free speech is bad, if you think free speech is good or important, you think that only people in America should be people that agree with you, then this doesn't not a problem. But I heard that free speech was supposed to be important. I heard that was important to Americans, but I guess I was lied to my entire life. The only thing I know is Rumeysa's organization was Thanksgiving potluck, said Jennifer Holden, a friend who studied with Ozturk at Columbia University's Teachers College. There's a very important distinction between writing a letter supporting the student senate and taking a kind of action that they're accusing her of, which we've seen no evidence of. Hamas invaded Israel. Okay. Every time I read any article that's slightly remotely mentioning this, we have to do this part every time, right here. Hamas invaded Israel on October 7th, 2023, in an attack that killed some 1,200, slightly less than 1,200 people. It could be up to now. How many people died on October 7th? Close to 1,200. I just want to see the actual number. No? Some recent large terror. Okay, it's not. I just want to see the actual. Does anyone have the actual number? Specifically? This is a graph. This is total deaths over a long period of time. Okay, whatever. Cool. I can't find it. But it's not quite 1,200, but it is close. Mostly civilians, during which about 250 hostages were seized. They might include some of the number of hostages who have died in captivity, either by being killed directly by Hamas or being killed in the process of Israel trying to free them, which has also happened. Israel is responsible for the death of their own citizens during this war, at least some of them. Has killed 50,000 people, according to Israel's retaliatory offense. Has killed more than 50,000 people. Now, when they say more than 50,000 people, it depends on who the Gaza's health ministry is. Like, we have estimations upwards. I've seen it. Someone mentioned estimation upward of 180,000. There's a lot of people that are missing that are expected to be dead because they're under the rubble, and that was people who were under the rubble 3 months ago. Like unless they found some way to escape and get somewhere else, it's possible, but. Last report I saw was 61,000, and it'll keep going higher if we're ever able to send an independent party in to verify and check. But Israel doesn't want you to do that because if that number is extremely high, it makes them look worse. Ozturk's arrest appears to be part of Donald Trump's pledge to deport students he said engage in pro-terrorist, anti-Semitic, anti-American activity. Don't let people tell you it's anti-Semitic, or anti-American, or pro-terrorist to say, I don't think we should be doing carpet bombing level attacks on an area because of this terrorist attack. Terrorist attack is bad. Don't let people say Israel has a right to defend themselves when this thing isn't defense that they're doing right now. This is violent extremism against a population. That's what this is. Do you want to call it genocide? Do you not want to? I don't care what you're calling it, genocide or not. This is a massacring of a population. And also, must be said, I disagree largely with probably most. I'd imagine I disagree with the general. I can't really say culture, but I almost want to use the word culture for like they probably disagree morally with most things that I agree with on what's the best way to run a society. Like it's largely Muslim. They're probably largely anti-LGBT. Like I've heard people mention it, right? Largely probably against money freedoms. Probably largely forcing teaching of religious things in school. All of that I don't like. Unlike other groups, progressives, which you have to say this all the time as progressives, just because we disagree with the way that you live your life doesn't mean you don't think you have the right to live it. Which again, used to be an American principle, but it's not anymore. Like if you are enough different than Western, than a specific group's Western values, you deserve to die. Apparently, according to both Israel and the United States government, Democrats and conservatives can agree on that. Muslims don't deserve to live, according to them. That's just what's been the case since 2001. Our terrorist attacks on us in October 7, 2023. If you're Muslim, it's okay if you die. That's their principle. I need to be showed evidence otherwise until they stop just destroying everybody that's tangentially connected to the attackers. Palestinian activists who played a prominent part of the Planet Columbia series now facing... Okay, they're talking about Mohammed Khalil, a U.S. legal resident, not born here, but a U.S. legal resident who was detained because they're prominent protest. You're legally allowed to protest. That is, you're given a right to protest. It's part of the Constitution, right? Part of the amendments. Like, I don't know. This person though, Mahmoud Khalil is, I think, their wife. I think it says it here. Dr. Rasha Alwe, a kidney specialist from Lebanon who was due to start an assistant professor at Brown University, was deported last month after a federal judge ordered she not be removed until a hearing could be held. Was due to start an assistant professor. She was deported despite being, that was deported against the federal judge's orders, which Trump can't do that. And also, when conservatives are telling you that a federal judge don't have control over the president, in these contexts, absolutely they do. That is how our Constitution works, to make sure that presidents aren't kings that can do whatever they want. There are powers that the president have. Stephen Miller's a piece of shit. I won't say some more aggressive things about him because I'm not going to get legal trouble. But he's a piece of shit. He's a horrible person and is a scourge on America and American values. We're saying, like, does a federal judge have the right to command the president overseas? No. They're not overseas, though. And the president is having people deported or trying to make a police state here, stateside. The federal judge completely does have a jurisdiction over citizens who have legal status here in their state. Absolutely, they do. Absolutely. Having a U.S. visa because openly admitted to support openly admitted to supporting a Hezbollah leader. I just need to see evidence of that. University of Alabama student has been detained by ICE. His lawyer confirmed there's no indication that Al-Arisi Doherty, a doctoral student from Iran studying mechanical engineering who was detained Tuesday, was involved in any protest. Like, it's just more, no more corporate owners, no shareholders standing up for the right to speak. I might donate at some point. Not right now. I'm doing a video. Come on. A Thursday evening, a few hundred people turned out at Somerville City Hall. I think you're getting the point, though, right? You should read the rest of this. You should actually read the rest of this article here. I did read this. And I read this one here. It's mostly the same thing. This one's just talking specifically about Zag. Court says not to remove Ozturk from state, but she's being listed held in Louisiana. Okay, they do mention that here. Yeah, if you just look up Tufts student on AP News, one of the things I've been doing here is trying to read a couple of articles. It's supposed to be an article a day, but reading a couple of articles a day. You guys probably don't like CNN because it's CNN. My general principle is that you can check even Fox News, tough student, and probably still get some good information. Let's see what they say. Tough student arrests top Dems want answers from Noam Rubio. ICE deeply troubling incident. Let's see. Top Democrats calling for the release of university student Rumeysa writing a letter to Trump administration officials demanding the answers surrounding the deeply troubling incident and a message addressing Homeland Security. Secretary Kristi Noem, Secretary Marco Rubio, ICE Director Todd Lunds, lawmaker Ozturk's arrest in Massachusetts appeared to be one of the latest examples of ICE arresting university students with valid green cards and visas because of their political views. That's a quote. That's not them saying that. Deeply troubling incidents. The administration should not summarily detain and deport legal residents of this country for merely. I do want to notice it's interesting that these objective facts that they're saying right here, they're only stating them through the context of quotes. Absent compelling evidence justifying her detention, the revocation of her status, we call for Ozturk's release, they added. So the first part is quotes, which does have all the use of information in here, but interesting, you probably note that you can dismiss. As a Fox viewer, you're probably dismissing everything. Well, it's like, did Bernie Sanders say that? Does that say Elizabeth Warren? You're going to dismiss that, anyone? The Democrats asked ICE to respond to a number of questions. Why did DHS arrest Ozturk? What is DHS ICE's policy regarding use of unmarked vehicles, face covering plane? Is DHS and other compelling dossier of university? That's another important point. Like, Massachusetts can't protect its citizens or legal residents here because we're is it an ad? What is this? Oh no, this is actually the letter that read the letter below. Have users click here. Okay, this is a letter from, I believe it's from Warren. The Honorable Marco Rubio. Dear Secretary Noam, Secretary Rubio, Nick learns, we write about the disturbing arrest and detention. Okay, so they have a 7-page paper here. See, but like, I mean, generally going to my point here, Fox News posted told on Wednesday that Ozturk was granted privilege to be in this country on DHS. Eisen found that Ozturk engaged in activities that support hostile foreign terrorists. Visa is a privilege, not a right, glorifying support of terrorists who kill Americans on the ground for insurance to be terminated, the spokesperson said. Now, I just want to see what they're saying outside of the quotes, just to see if there is any like propaganda. For now, see, this is a good article so far. This is a Fox News article. I am a progressive / whatever you want to call it. I'm a progressive lefty. So far, I don't object to any of this. They have literally a letter from Elizabeth Warren to them. We're just getting good information. Like, my general principle is, and Gwen, I got this from Destiny, honestly. Former Destiny viewer, don't watch him too much anymore. Not because of his Israel palette. Like, he's pro-Israel, and I'm not in the same sense. But I just kind of stopped watching for other reasons. But I do think principally he has pretty good methodologies for getting information. One of the things he was saying, one of the things I'm noticing, like CNN or Fox News, if you read the actual articles, you're probably still going to get information. Like if you read both a Fox and CNN article on the same topic, you actually can get the truth value from that. I do tend to use AP and Reuters more because like I just like less bias is probably still better. But like I'm not like again, it's mostly quotes here. Rationale for this arrest appears to be the student's expression of their political views. We are calling for full due process in a case, then we are seeking answers about this case, about ICE policy that has led to the identification of arrests in university students without legal status. They said Ozturk was one of 4. Yeah, I mean, was there anything else here? I can look at comments. I imagine the comments are going to be where the bias is here. My thought is that if the squad support her and want her released, we should do the opposite. That's pretty fucked up. How those who signed that letter are members of Congress when they do not even know that student visa is just for studying in America, not for actively protesting against America and our own land. So here's where we're getting the actual bias, and this is not what this is about. We're going to wrap this up really soon. She's not actively protesting against America and our own land. This is a person who wrote an article, an op-ed in their student paper that was just critical of their school's response to the student party at Tufts University telling them to divest. Right? That's what they did. They were not protesting. This person doesn't have enough information from this article. If they read some more articles, what they did, they still would think the same thing, because just probably their thought process is if you're sympathetic to Palestinians, that means you're sympathetic to Hamas. Because the last year and a half, we've been told by our government and by our news organizations that if you're pro-Hamas, if you care about Palestine, like there's no difference. But yeah, that's about it. You can read the rest of the articles, but generally just go to the point. You can read articles from either party and you'll still get good information. Oh, just finished up the video. Zach. But that about wraps this up. Let's go full screen here. Yeah, scary times. If you have political opinions that disagree with the status quo, you should be afraid. And again, you should only be afraid as a lefty, because we were in charge the last 4 years. People weren't getting detained and arrested for being conservative. Remember when they were complaining about free speech? You just didn't. You were fine. If you were conservative and you were complaining, you were completely fine. There was no legal concerns whatsoever. You might lose your job because your job fires you for being racist. But that's about it. Anyway, if you like us all, leave a like, subscribe to a crime. Just kidding, don't do a crime, and I'm out.